The monsoon clouds had gathered early that afternoon, turning the dusty sky into a heavy gray blanket. The air smelled of wet earth, diesel, and metal, familiar scents in Rafi's world. His roadside workshop stood at the corner of an old market street, squeezed between a fruit stall and a barber shop. The signboard above his head, painted by a friend years ago, now hung crooked and faded. Inside, the place was cluttered yet organized in a way only Rafi understood. Tools lay in old biscuit tins, spare nuts and bolts were kept in glass jars, and an ancient fan rattled lazily as if complaining about the heat. The radio in the corner played a crackling old song, its singer's voice echoing through decades of forgotten memories. At 27, Rafi already carried the weight of a man twice his age. His days started early, ended late, and were filled with the constant scratching sounds of metal against metal. But he wasn't bitter. He had grown up in this very workshop, watching his father repair bikes while sharing stories with customers. Hardship was normal, responsibility was familiar. Still, today had been long. He wiped sweat from his forehead, rolled down the shutter halfway, and was about to close the shop when he heard a distinct sound. A motorcycle engine coughing, sputtering, then dying right outside his door. He stepped out, confused. A sleek, metallic black motorcycle was parked in front. It looked expensive, far too luxurious for this part of town. Its chrome parts glinted even under the dull clouds. A woman sat on it, adjusting her helmet. Her posture was confident, elegant, refined. When she removed the helmet, Rafi froze for a second. She didn't look like the usual customers who stopped by with old, rattling bikes. She was different, polished, city-bred. Her hair fell softly around her shoulders, and her eyes, sharp, steady, searched his face. There was something classy about her entire presence. She carried silence like others carried noise. "Is this a repair shop?" she asked. Her voice held gentle authority. Rafi blinked quickly. "Yes, madam. What happened?" "I don't know. The bike just stopped a few meters back." He nodded respectfully and gestured. "Please, let me check." She dismounted, and for a moment, Rafi wondered what someone like her was doing in such a place. But he shoved that thought aside and pushed the heavy bike into his workshop. Inside, the dim light bulb flickered. She glanced around, her polished shoes looking completely out of place on the greasy floor. "Your workshop, it's cozy," she said. Most people called it broken, old, or messy. No one had ever called it cozy. Rafi smiled shyly. "It's small, but it works." He crouched down and inspected the bike. His hands moved instinctively, touching, adjusting, checking the basics. The smell of engine oil didn't bother him, it was comfort. It was home. The woman stood quietly, watching him work. She didn't look impatient, just curious. "What's your name?" she asked after a few minutes. "Rafi," he said, eyes still on the bike. "Yours, madam?" "Mira." He searched his memory. The name felt familiar, but he couldn't place it. A few minutes later, he exhaled. "Your ignition wires are damaged. Probably from a bump or some rough road. Can it be fixed?" "Yes," he said, "but I'll need a replacement part. It'll take a day to arrive." "That's fine," she replied without hesitation. Rafi hesitated before continuing. "Madam, it will be expensive." "How much?" He told her the number cautiously, expecting her to negotiate or question him. But she didn't even blink. "Okay, order it." Rafi nodded slowly, hiding his surprise. He grabbed his old keypad phone and called a supplier in the city. Meanwhile, Mira walked around the workshop. She looked at the old wooden stool, the faded posters of motor oil brands, the tools patched with tape, the small electric kettle sitting on a homemade shelf. "You run this place alone?" she asked. "Yes." He tightened a bolt. "My father started it. After he passed away, I took over. My mother is unwell, so I manage things." There was no bitterness in his voice, just acceptance. Something in Mira's expression softened. "You've kept it going well." Rafi gave a small, humble shrug. "I try." She watched him for another moment, noticing things she hadn't before. His shirt was faded, sleeves rolled up from wear rather than style. His shoes were torn at the edges. His hands were rough, but steady, hands that worked hard, hands that cared. "Do you enjoy this work?" she asked suddenly. Rafi smiled faintly, and for the first time, the smile reached his eyes. "Very much. I love machines. They make sense. People, not always." She laughed lightly. The sound surprised even her. Rafi straightened, wiping grease off his hands. "For today, I've done a temporary fix. You can go home safely." Come back tomorrow when the part arrives. Thank you, she said, her voice warm. As she stepped toward her bike, she noticed a young boy, maybe 10 years old, approaching the workshop. He handed Rafi a small packet of medicine. For your mother, the boy said. Rafi smiled and gave him a few coins. Thank you, Ali. Tell your mother I'll come fix her scooter soon. The boy nodded and left. Mira watched, eyebrows raised. You fix bikes for free? Not free, Rafi said with embarrassment. Ali's mother can't afford repairs. So I help. It's nothing. It's not. Nothing, Mira said softly. He looked up, surprised by the sincerity in her tone. Before leaving, Mira paused. Rafi, you're talented, and kind. Rafi lowered his gaze, unused to such compliments. Just doing my job, madam. She smiled at his humility, then put on her helmet. As the bike roared to life, smooth and steady now, she looked at him one last time. I'll see you tomorrow, she said. Rafi nodded. When she rode away, her perfume lingering faintly in the air, Rafi found himself staring at the empty road long after she disappeared. He didn't understand why. Maybe it was her kindness. Maybe it was her confidence. Maybe it was simply that someone like her had stood in his small workshop and spoken to him like an equal. But he didn't know one thing. Mira wasn't just different, she was a millionaire, and she was about to change his life in ways he never imagined. Morning sunlight filtered through the gaps in Rafi's workshop roof, turning tiny dust particles into golden sparks floating in the air. Rafi had barely slept, his mind replayed every moment from yesterday. Myra's voice, her smile, her effortless grace in a place where nothing was graceful. He kept glancing at the road like a boy waiting for a festival parade. At 9:10 a.m. sharp, the black motorcycle glided into view, more elegant than anything this street usually saw. Mira removed her helmet, and her hair spilled out slightly messy but beautiful. She smiled. Good morning, Rafi. His heart beat faster than he'd admit. Good morning, madam, I mean, Mira. He corrected himself clumsily. Her laugh was soft but genuine. He led her inside and began working. His fingers moved with practiced ease, but today, he explained each step, not because she needed to know, but because he wanted to keep her engaged. Wanted her presence near him just a little longer. Mira listened, not to the technical details, but to the calm warmth in his voice. She noticed his concentration, his respect for his craft, his pride in doing things right, even in a small, broken workshop. You're very talented, she said. I'm just hardworking, he replied, blushing slightly. That's a talent too. He said nothing, but her compliment settled in his chest like a warm ember. As he tightened the final bolt, Mira walked around slowly. She noticed again the signs of struggle, patched walls, rusted equipment, the single electric kettle for tea. It wasn't poverty she saw. It was perseverance, and something inside her shifted again. When Rafi was done, he stood up, wiping sweat from his brow. Your bike is ready. It should run perfectly now. How much? She asked casually. He handed her a handwritten bill. Just the price of the part. His service fee was barely anything. Rafi, she said slowly, this is too little. It's the real cost, he said. Why would I take more? Most people would, she said softly. He shrugged. Honesty is all I own. Those words hit her deeper than he could ever imagine. For a moment, she simply watched him, her expression unreadable. Then she asked, can I sit here for a bit? Rafi nodded, confused but welcoming. She sat on the wooden stool near him. Rafi, why didn't you raise your prices? She asked suddenly. He smiled faintly. People here can barely afford repairs. If I charge too much, they'll stop riding safely. My father used to say, a mechanic must fix a man's bike as if it were his own life. I try to follow that. His father's words lingered in the air. Mira looked away for a moment, blinking slowly. Your father sounds like a good man. He was everything, Rafi whispered. Losing him, it changed everything. She sensed the heaviness in his eyes. A life full of responsibility. No shortcuts, no help, no chances. She took a slow breath. Rafi, I want to ask you something. Yes, if you had money, real money, if you had everything you needed, what would you change? Rafi laughed without humor. Madam, I don't think that far. Still, she pressed gently. He looked at his workshop as if seeing a dream instead. I'd make this place bigger. Cleaner. With real equipment. I'd hire boys who want to learn. I'd build something worth leaving behind. His voice held both longing and resignation. Myra's heart tightened. She could feel it now. How much he worked, how little he gained, how quietly he carried the weight of his mother's illness in their survival. "Rafi," she said softly, "I need to tell you something." "What is it?" he asked, confused by her tone. Mira exhaled deeply. "My full name is Mira Arif." Rafi froze completely. The wrench dropped from his hand and clattered to the floor. He slowly turned toward her, face pale. "A Arif, as in, the Arif Group. The Arif Foundation, She nodded calmly. "That's you," he whispered, eyes wide. You're a millionaire." "Yes." For a long moment, the workshop felt too small, too quiet, too unreal. Rafi stepped back, panic rising. "Madam, if I said anything rude yesterday, if I behaved wrong, I'm sorry." "You didn't," she cut in gently. "You treated me like a regular person. That's rare for me." He didn't know what to say. She continued, voice soft but firm. "People like me are usually surrounded by greed, fake praise, opportunists. But you, Rafi, you didn't even look twice at my watch. You didn't overcharge me. You didn't try to impress me. You were simply honest." Rafi stared at her, stunned. "And yesterday," she said, "I saw you give medicine money to that boy. I saw how you treat people who have nothing to offer you." Her eyes softened. "And that's why I'm here today." She reached into her bag and pulled out a neatly folded document. She placed it gently on his workbench. Rafi stared at it like it was a forbidden treasure. "What is this?" "A proposal," she said. "I want to invest in your dream." "My dream?" His voice cracked. "Yes," she said. "A proper garage, full machinery, skilled workers, training for youth, all under your name." Rafi shook his head quickly. No, madam, I can't accept this. Why would someone like you do this for someone like me?" She stepped closer, her voice gentle but unwavering. "Because, Rafi, I see something in you that money can't buy. Integrity." His throat tightened. He struggled to speak. Emotion rose in his chest like a wave. "Mira, I don't know how to thank you." "You don't have to," she said, smiling softly. "I'm not giving you charity. I'm investing in a future I believe in." "But, no buts," she said firmly. "One day, this workshop will become a landmark. And I want to be part of that journey." Rafi inhaled shakily. "This is too much." "It's not," she said. "It's exactly what you deserve." Silence filled the space, heavy, emotional, overwhelming. Then Mira extended her hand. "Come with me," she said. "Where?" he whispered. "To see the land where your new garage will stand." His breath caught in his throat. "My new garage?" "Yes," she said softly. "Your future begins today." Rafi stared at her hand, then slowly placed his trembling one into hers. In that moment, something shifted forever. Hope, real hope, sparked inside him for the first time in years. As they walked out together, Mira glanced at him and said, "You know, Rafi, sometimes we meet people who change our direction." "And what direction am I changing for you?" he asked quietly. She smiled, eyes warm. "The one that matters." He didn't know what the future held. He didn't know how deeply their lives would intertwine. He didn't know that this chance meeting would become the turning point of not just his career, but his heart. But he knew one thing for certain. Helping a stranger had not just repaired her bike. It had repaired his destiny.